What's up, y'all? Let's see. This is number 3 in our Thanksgiving mega extravaganza video series. In the news, there's a lot of talk about COVID. It's ramping up again. Holidays are coming. A lot more indoors now because of the weather, things like that. Please be. It's bad enough not seeing all of our friends and stuff here, our members and stuff. We really miss you. But it would be even worse if we hear that somebody got sick. So please take care of yourself, take care of everybody else, and take it serious. It isn't a political issue. You may agree with it, you may not agree with it, but you know what? You're infringing on somebody else if you choose not to wear a mask. So it's if you need a mask, if you need some sort of sanitation equipment, get a hold of Barbara here, and we'll do our best to help you out with that kind of stuff.
Definitely. Want everybody to be safe and well for Thanksgiving. And no matter how you celebrate Thanksgiving this year, always be thankful for what you have, especially in this kind of year with the pandemic. People are spread out, they're not having the family dinners. You're still here, you're still able to enjoy the holidays. Be thankful for what you have.
Absolutely. 2020 obviously has been a very challenging year in many ways. A lot of upheaval throughout the country and stuff, and sometimes you just got to pause, take a little break, and think about what you do have and what you can do to make life better for somebody, even if it's something small like holding the door. At least you've done something that day just to be part of the human race, if nothing else. A couple of different things today. Number one, Barb's going to show you how she makes these phenomenal looking, smelling, what are they, Barb?
They are actually dump cake muffins. That's what they're called.
Dump cake?
Dump cake. And why that is, do you want me to do this now?
I don't know if the word dump and things you eat should go together.
It's
I really
because
don't.
you dump this with this and mix it up.
All right, I'm thinking about it different. Okay, go ahead.
So this I make for the mornings for Thanksgiving, so that when my family starts arriving, which I'm not sure how many will arrive this year, but I can continue cooking. They can have a little bit to nibble. And it's really easy to make. It can be any kind of yellow cake mix, a can of pumpkin pie filling. This is actually just pumpkin. You don't want you can use the others, but a can of pumpkin or apple pie filling, and applesauce, and 1 egg.
Is that egg under quarantine?
It's under quarantine. It's
okay.
Incubating. I don't know. And then because the pumpkin isn't seasoned, I use pumpkin pie spice, about 1.5 teaspoons, and I add chocolate chips. You can add raisins. You don't have to add anything at all. They come out nice and moist. They take about 20 minutes in the oven to cook. The apple.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. So I'm sorry, keeping our 6 feet. These are 2 separate recipes, or you put all that in a bowl?
Nope, these are 2 separate recipes.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, so actually you can use any kind of cake mix, any kind of pie filling, and you can make muffins.
I see.
You're not adding oil, you're just adding the applesauce.
Ooh.
And I added a little bit of pumpkin pie seasoning to that. You don't want to add a lot of cinnamon because my applesauce has cinnamon in it. It's a 1/3 cup of applesauce to replace the oil. And then after they're done baking, or even while they're still in the oven the last few minutes, just a sprinkle of sugar and cinnamon on top, and they're done. You can add raisins to those instead of the chocolate chips. You can bake them plain. I also make them for camp when we want to have Saturday morning coffee with our camp neighbors. They take about 20 minutes for the pumpkin, 25 minutes for the apple to bake. I don't know why so long, but they're nice and moist. You don't have to add any butter. Or you could take an apple core and add a cream cheese filling to them. Is also good. So
Crazy.
That's my recipe.
That's cool.
Quick, easy. And I hand mixed all these. It's so easy. So moist.
You made your husband do it, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Your kid?
No.
Your cat?
No. I can cook, Jeff.
I know you can cook. I'm not full. If you have any questions, I'm sure you can get a hold of us here at Rise, and Barb would be more than happy to send you any of these recipes that we're doing. Oh, and by the way, we're speaking of recipes. Last week, we made the stuffing, and I inadvertently said a tablespoon of black pepper. What I meant was a teaspoon of black pepper. This created mass hysteria, havoc in my house. So just a disclaimer, not a tablespoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of black pepper. This other one, Maureen and I have been doing, my wife and I have been doing for a while. It's just a twist sort of on apple pie. Just a little bit different, and it sounds kind of strange to some maybe, but some may have heard of this before. But what these are called is apple pie bars. And basically, you start out with a good, firm, crisp cooking apple. And I think I overdid it on apples because we're using a little bit smaller pan than I thought we would. My fault. So I think I have a lot of apples here that we may not need. But so dough. You can make your own crust. There's plenty of recipes online, and or you can buy some and just roll it out according to the directions. One thing that I've noticed, and it's always ticked me off about these recipes, it says use cold butter, use cold this, and mix it when it's cold, because that's hard. You know, trying to mash in cold butter is really hard. So I let it room temperature. Yeah, well, I do it all by hand. And I don't get my wife to do it.
It's a pastry blender is by hand.
Oh, pastry blender. I thought you meant blender.
No, pastry blender.
Okay. So I've actually made this cross recipe offline, off the internet, and there's a couple different versions. If you're doing something sweet like a dessert, add a couple tablespoons of sugar to it. If you're doing something savory like chicken pot pie, things like that, omit the sugar. All right. So we have our pan. And it's lightly sprayed with some of this stuff here. I already have the dough rolled out to save a little time. We got some good cooking apples sliced down to about anywhere from 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick. And we've seasoned it. And again, you can season it whatever way you like. We use a combination of cinnamon and sugar, a little bit of ginger, a little bit of nutmeg, and a little bit of real vanilla. One thing about vanilla, real vanilla and imitation vanilla, it's quite a big difference, but pure vanilla, it's expensive.
It's expensive, it is.
So I'll deal with a little bit of taste difference and go with a cheaper vanilla. Okay, so a little bit of vanilla, you stir it all up in there. You'll notice some apples are juicy than others. You get a little juice on the bottom. Try to pour that juice out a little bit. But what we're going to do is the next step after the crust, cornflakes. I could probably eat a bowl of cereal about that big.
I bet you could. We've talked about this.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
We both are cereal eaters. All I'm saying, we like to mix our
If
cereal.
I had to choose one food to eat the rest of my life, it would be cereal. I know it's horrible for you, but cereal, any kind of cereal pretty much. So we got just cornflakes here, and the next layer is going to be cornflakes. So Barb's going to help me throw this together. Obviously I have a little bit too much, but you're going to put cornflakes in, not sweetened, not sugar frosted flakes, cornflakes. And you can use any generic brand. Basically you're just putting a layer of corn at the bottom of these things. So Barb, you want to dump a little bit of those in there and see what we come up with? I like that sound. Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfection.
All right, so we have it in there nice and level. All right, now we're going to add our seasoned apples.
Our apples. Do you know that when they first came to America, there was not a lot of apples. There was only crab apples. The whole Johnny Appleseed story where he goes around planting trees, it was all crab apples. They were only good for making hard cider.
So apples weren't native to this country?
They were not. Not until the 1600s when they came over on ships from Europe.
They came from Europe on boats?
On boats. They brought over the trees, the seedlings for trees, and we have apple pie, and the saying is, as American as apple pie,
Right.
didn't start till the 1940s.
Well, I can see why.
Yeah. So you figure Johnny Appleseed story is...
It's not true. So what we've done is we already have dough rolled out.
Dough rolled out.
Do
Don't
re
raise
mi.
me. Don't raise me.
We rehearsed that.
We did
just
not.
Okay, so Barb is going to roll that over the top of that, and yeah.
I got apple all over my hands.
Want to do it?
I'm gonna try. I'm pretty good at
Yeah,
that.
she knows what she's doing.
Maybe. Why is it doesn't stick?
Ooh, you're good. You're good. Breathe. Oh, sweet moments. That's good. All right. So now what we're going to do, you can actually see the chunks of butter, like I said. Remember when I said bowl? But those are okay. Those are just going to melt out a little bit and actually have a pretty good flavor, I would imagine. Let's see. I'm going to take this knife right here. So then you're going to trim off to the outside of your pan. Oh, I took over. I shouldn't be doing that. Okay. So then, what I do is just do pinch, 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 pinch. Say it with me. Pinch, 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 pinch. Okay. Sort of like that all the way around. Real quick.
I'm going to do it the way I do it. I don't know how you do it. I like to make patterns on my apple pie. And when I make cherry pie, I make little cherries so they know it's the cherry pie.
Oh, ready to go. Now, some people at this point would do what? Like a
glaze.
Yeah, like an egg wash on it.
Egg wash on it, and then sprinkle maybe cinnamon and sugar on it.
Yeah, which sometimes we do that, but most times we don't. And I'm going to show you why in a second. Okay. So what we usually do, or what I do, depending on your oven. Now, we had an old crappy oven until recently. We got a new oven, so it's totally different in the way we cook things. But I throw it in a rack somewhere in the middle at about 395, because remember there is dough on the bottom of that. 395 for about 15-20 minutes, and then I drop it down to about 360 for about, depending on your oven, for about another 20 to 25 minutes. What you can do is, if you have a glass pan and you're looking on the outside when you check it, if you see bubbling, almost like boiling in there, it's getting pretty close. Smells really good too. So I'm just going to throw that in real quick. One of the things that Bart mentioned was cinnamon sugar, egg wash, stuff like that on top. But what we do, and we started doing this because all apples are kind of different. We sort of use whatever apples are available to us. Some are sweeter than others, some are mushier than others. You're looking for a good, crisp, tart apple if you're buying them specifically for this. But what we do is we throw sort of a powdered sugar glaze on top. And this is a little bit tricky, but it's not rocket science, but that seems like a lot of powdered sugar in there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do is when you add milk, so the three ingredients in this are vanilla, powdered sugar, and milk. So add milk very little at a time. A little more. Let's see what that does.
And that's what you want to do when you're making a glaze, is go easy. You don't want to dump and dump, because you can always add more, you can't take it out.
Same thing with spices. I've always said that, I think I've said it in every one of our videos. Go easy on spices, salt, things like that, because you can always add it, you can't take it out. Okay, so I added vanilla for those of you who didn't see that, about a teaspoon or so. I know it's pretty close when it's thick, but it'll still run. After your apple pie bars come out, you're going to take, while the pie's still warm, you're going to take it and drizzle it back and forth as much as you want. You can cover the whole top. You can just do a little bit. And you should end up with something that looks, after it cools, like this. Okay, those are our apple pie bars.
Yummy.
So, that's our apple pie bars. Again, if you would like to...
How long are you baking it for again?
Well, I throw it in about 395 for about 10-15 minutes just to get that underside cooking.
Right.
Because that underside, depending on how wet your apples are, how much juice is in them, sometimes it's hard to get that under crust cooking. It might be soggy, and that ruins the whole thing. So I throw it in a pretty hot oven, 395 for about 15 minutes, and then open it, turn the thing around, and then drop it down to about 360 for another 20 to 25 minutes. You keep an eye on it as you're going, turn your light on. If it starts to brown too quickly on the top and you don't think it's done, throw some tin foil on top.
Yep.
Sort of block the heat a little bit.
Yep.
Okay?
Sounds good. There's about 11 best apples for pies. You mentioned you had to have a good apple.
Yeah.
Some of these are familiar, some of them aren't. Belle de Bascoup, Pink Lady, Northern Spy, Granny Smith, I knew that one, Golden Delicious, Honey Crisp, Jonna Gold, Brayburn, Ravenstein, Bramley Seedling, and Esopus Spitzenberg.
Is that Latin? Sounds Latin.
I don't know.
Wow.
I have no idea, but it
Very-
kind of blew
very-
my mind to hear the apples, because we always say as American as apple pie, which didn't really get started here until the mid-1600s.
Very technical report on apples. I did recognize 3 or 4 of those apples though. Honeycrisp, those are my favorite apples actually. But the apples matter is what you're saying. The apples
They do.
matter for bacon.
They
So
do.
the mushier apples, you know, it's still going to be okay, but if the apples are a little mushy, it'll be more like an applesauce cake, something like that. But give it a try. Again, if you need the recipe, get a hold of us. We'll sort of help you out with that. Next week is Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try to do a turkey one. We don't know logistically if that's going to work out, but we're going to try to do one more in our series here. And if you have any questions, get a hold of us. Don't forget that we're here. You know, we don't have the answers to everything, but we want to help. Whatever way we can, we'll do our best effort to help in whatever you're going through.
Just
Even,
call.
even if it's just talking, even if it's coming in to play pool, something like that. We do appointments now, like we talked about. So, you know, we miss you guys. Hopefully everybody's doing okay.
Call.
21's got to be a better year.
Call 315-219-5393. I couldn't even remember. Or you can get a hold of us on our numbers. It's on our website, www.risercoc.org.